The views on this podcast belong solely to the hosts and guests. They do not represent the official positions of Teamsters Local 222 or the International Brotherhood of Teamsters. All opinions shared are protected under the National Labor Relations Act. This podcast is produced for entertainment and educational purposes only. Any reference to products, companies, or services is made for discussion or context and should not be interpreted as an endorsement or paid sponsorship. Nothing in this podcast should be taken as legal advice.
Hello, Teamster family, brothers and sisters. Thank you for watching our podcast. We've received tons of positive feedback, and we really appreciate you guys taking the time to watch the episodes. Today's episode is with Brother James McDonald, and we dig into the feeder driver UPS MOU mileage overcharge issue. And by dig deep, I mean times, dates, equations. James at one point says solve for X, carry the 1, mathematical equations. And if you get lost in the mathematics of it, don't worry, you're not really alone in that. We've also inserted some communications for transparency and accountability reasons. Some people call them receipts. If you are driving, be very careful. Don't look at your phone and try to read, because some of it's kind of fine print. Get back to it when you can actually stop and read it. So if you are driving while watching this episode, get back to it later. Drive safe. Keep your eyes on the road. And buckle up, literally, if you're driving, because this is a good one. Yeah, drop the mic again. Drop the mic again. Welcome to the Do or Die podcast. And remember, a union without unity is just a paycheck. I cannot say that, damn it. I'll get that right one of these times. A union without unity is just a paycheck deduction. There we go. Today we are joined with James McDonald of UPS, really the point and the lead man. We're here specifically to dig into this MOU issue, really one of the biggest issues that I believe kind of ignited the feeder department on fire, really. So we'll just go through this kind of step by step as you accounted, and I guess we'll just talk about it, and I'll interrupt if I have questions or need clarity on something. But so this has been going on somewhere in the neighborhood of 14, 15, 16 months now. Where did it begin? How did it begin? And how did you discover that this was about to happen? Because to my recollection, you caught wind that it was going to happen. And maybe you can clarify this. You caught wind that it was going to happen. You collected
Correct.
Paychecks of feeder drivers, did a side-by-side comparison, and showed them that this was going to overcharge us on our health and welfare retiree trust deductions.
Correct. So I think for everybody to actually be able to understand what is going on, I think they need to understand the full history of this health and welfare.
Let's just start fundamentally. What is the health and welfare deduction and the $1.25 per hour?
So at UPS back in 2000, UPS employees, for all the full-time employees, this does not affect any of the part-time employees, but all the full-time employees back in 2000 elected to have part of their wage put aside for retirement health care benefits.
Okay, and that's called the Health and Welfare Retiree Trust.
Correct. That trust, it started out at, I believe it was 50 cents, went up to 75
per hour worked.
Per hour worked.
Per compensable hour, to be technical.
Yes. Well, I'll get into that a little later. But as far as we knew, up until recently, what we knew, it was $1.25 over the last, I want to say, about 15 years. Give or take a couple
So
of years.
$1.25
It's
per hour of every full-timer working is being pulled out of the paycheck and put into a trust that helps cover our retiree benefit medical package
correct. Our health care
or healthcare.
once we retire.
Okay.
Correct. And like I said, that started in 2000. Everybody, when I came over to the feeder department, kind of learned a little bit more about the program. Never really worried about it when I was a package car driver. Learned that, I guess, when it started, from what I have been able to kind of guesstimate, I've never been able to get the real records. When it started, it was, like I said, the 50 cents. Let's just, to make it easy for everybody to understand it, just call it $1.25. Trying to get into the how much it's changed over the years.
Yeah, right. How much it changed.
Will just confuse people. So I just call it the $1.25. But when it started, my understanding is they were originally, the first very short period of time, they were not charging any of the UPS feeder mileage drivers.
And for those that don't understand, it's kind of self-explanatory. The largest portion of our feeder drivers are paid per hour. There is, what are we, about 25% mileage or so? 100 something runs or mileage?
Yeah, right now, last I counted, we were about 105, 110 drivers.
Okay, yeah,
that are
I
on
guess
mileage. So about a third at this point.
a third of the drivers, but
yeah.
Okay. So those runs are premium runs. Those typically go to higher seniority drivers because they pay more.
Correct.
And they are paid per mile driven. If it takes them 8 hours or it takes them 12 hours, they get paid the mileage.
Correct.
It's kind of a set rate. But if you do it in a reasonable amount of time that is allotted for the run, that you can do those miles in return, it basically equates to kind of your time and a half.
Yeah,
roughly your time and a half rate. So they definitely pay better.
Yes, it pays a lot better. It is the premium work. It usually goes to the highest seniority guys.
So that just for explanation, we have hourly and mileage runs. The mileage is you are paid per mile. So you go to Mountain Home, I think it's 602, so just over 600, pretty close there. We could argue about 602, 606. It's 600 miles. You get paid per mile. If you do it in a good Mountain Home day is about 10 hours. I had a 15 and a half hour day last Thursday.
Yeah.
I didn't get paid more because I worked for, a little bit of delay time, but
yeah,
the mileage is set.
Yes.
So what they were doing was, again, correct me if I'm wrong, payroll was having to manually calculate.
Correct. So
the $1.25 equivalent.
Yeah. What I was going to explain there is that as we started the initial $1.25, my understanding is they did not start it with the mileage drivers, and they learned real quickly, oh crap, we're not charging mileage drivers. And at that point they figured out, oh, wait a minute, there's no ability to charge a mileage driver a per hour wage deduction.
They're not paid per hour.
They're paid per mile, not per hour. So what they agreed to is that they would pay the mileage drivers from punch in to punch out. Say it was 10 hours. They would charge them that $1.25 for those 10 hours from the time they were on the clock, and just do it as a deduction against their wages.
Mm-hmm.
Nice, simple. That started up real quickly. They learned that as a mileage driver, you also have the option of doing extra work. Some of the work before you start the run, you get paid hourly for. If you decide to do extra work after the run, things like washing the vehicle, fueling the vehicle, running and doing extra, going and taking care of CPUs for the company,
running a rail,
going and doing rails, all of that. Any work that you perform as a mileage driver outside of the mileage run is all extra work, and it's all overtime. Well, they discovered very quickly that, oh, wait a minute, we already charged this mileage driver for all of his, from every moment that he's on the clock, we've already charged him his $1.25 against his mileage work. But now when he's doing this extra work, we're also charging him the $1.25. And they realized that, my understanding, fairly quickly, and they came up with a different method. And what they decided, and my understanding is, through what I was always told, is that they had taken this to arbitration.
What's the timeline on this that you're talking about?
Back in 2000 to 2002.
Okay.
They took it to arbitration. The arbitrator ruled that UPS was not liable to pay any overtime on that $1.25 wages.
Specifically for the mileage?
For anybody.
Okay.
So they do not owe overtime on that wage. That was what we were told. And my understanding is, at that time, when that arbitration came down, that the company and the union at that time decided, okay, how do we pay the mileage drivers their correct hourly rate and not pay them overtime on the $1.25?
Not charge them overtime.
Well, they were already charging them on their mileage pay. So what they came up with is, they said, okay, well, we have the contractual rate, whatever it is, every year. You minus $1.25 off of that, and that is the Utah hourly pay rate. So then they needed to come up with a third pay rate. What they did is they said, okay, well, let's just mathematically do this. If we take X being the wage we need to pay, or what we need to add, if you times X by 1.5, which is overtime, you equal that is $1.25. Solve for X. That is 83 cents. 83 cents times $1.05, or times 1.5 overtime, equals $1.25. So we will take the Utah hourly pay rate, add 83 cents to that. Now we have the Utah hourly feeder, the Utah hourly mileage rate. So now we can charge the mileage drivers their $1.25 per hour against all hours worked, from the minute they punch in to the minute they punch out. That deduction is taken care of. It was a manual deduction. And then you pay them on the hourly mileage rate. Now, all of a sudden, when any extra work they do, they get their $1.25 added back in during that work, because they've already paid it previously. And for 20 years, that worked perfect. They did the mileage, they did the standard deduction. Everybody was being paid correctly. Then you come in when, I don't remember if it was 2019 or 2020.
Well, there was, just backing up a little bit.
Yeah.
You'd mentioned a while ago to me that the arbitrator in that first case said that there's something seriously wrong with the language here, or this agreement.
Correct. Is the arbitrator did not like the way, so the only place that it states in any contractual language of this $1.25 is, it's in our National Master Agreement in the JC3 sub agreement, and it's the JC3 Article 24, Section 2. And the arbitrator just didn't like the language. And it wasn't until recently when I started looking into things and started realizing, oh, wait a minute. This language in the contract doesn't even allow for charging mileage drivers at all. The JC3 24.2 language specifically states that the $1.25 is to be charged on all hourly compensable work, which was what we were saying there.
Right. How dare you, by the way, look into things also? How dare you?
Well, that's the sad part is for so long, I've just taken what Spencer and Britt have said. This is exactly as it is.
Right.
So I've never really looked into it very much. Sometime late 2023, started pushing the company more on it. And hey, we need to get this resolved. And sometime in late 2023, Spencer had met with the company and they finally got the national payroll specialists involved with this, trying to get this resolved. And at that point, the national payroll specialist said, hey, wait a minute. I don't like the way this is being done for all of the mileage drivers. I'm having to pay for this local payroll specialist to do these manual adjustments every single week. I don't like this. I want this automated. He alleges they have an automated way in other areas of the country. We still don't know where that is, but he wanted it automated. And in January of 2024, that is when Spencer called me, said, hey, I just got this email from the company. This is what they want to do to go to this automated method of charging all mileage drivers.
For the health and welfare retiree trust.
For the retiree to cover our $1.25 per hour. At that point, I said, hey, Spence, send me the email. He sent it to me. I was still driving at the time. And I looked at it and went, oh no, this is fucked up. This is so wrong. What they're doing, this does not work. I'm driving right now. I can't tell you or prove to you why it's wrong, but give me the weekend and I will put something together to prove that this guy is just completely up in the night and this is way wrong. That weekend, I was able to get 3 separate mileage drivers and 2 separate sleeper teams. Every one of those drivers sent me their full paychecks for September and October of 2023. So I had every one of their exact paychecks, created a spreadsheet using the company's new method and comparing it to the old method that we had been using for 24 years at that point.
Side-by-side comparison.
Side-by-side comparison.
Same paychecks.
Their exact paychecks. And by that weekend, realizing that at this point, I didn't understand or know the JC3 24.2 language. I was going off the assumption that the method that we were using was a correct method. We'd been doing it for years, long before I ever came around. All of this methodology was correct. So when I put that spreadsheet together, that was going the old method that we were using at UPS and the new method that the company wanted to use.
Right.
And by that weekend, I had shown that the company would end up overcharging mileage drivers, depending upon the mileage run, it would be somewhere between $35 and $55 every single week from their paychecks.
That starts to add up quick.
Yeah, that's a lot more than the $2 or $3 a week problem that we were trying to solve.
This new calculation was the 2.8 cents per mile.
Correct.
To go into the health and welfare.
Correct.
In lieu of $1.25 per hour.
Yeah, they were no longer going to charge us $1.25 for every hour on the clock, but they were going to charge us 2.8 cents based on doubles. Because you get paid differently if you haul a single trailer, double trailers, or triple trailers. But the average is doubles, and for the 2.8 cents per mile when you're hauling doubles. And they are also going to get rid of the Utah hourly or the Utah hourly pay rate for mileage drivers. Everybody, that 83 cents additional, that would go away, and we would have one rate for all drivers. It would be the Utah hourly feeder rate, which is contractual minus $1.25. So when you added both of those in, yes, it was going to steal $35 to $55 from each driver. And I sent that spreadsheet to Spencer. He agreed, yeah, this is bad. This method will not work.
It's kind of the same. Here's what we agreed upon. Here's what you were contributing to the Health and Welfare Retiree Trust. But this is in addition to, above and beyond what was agreed upon. This was never agreed upon by the membership. I guess we'll get to where the MOU comes in.
Correct.
But when you say the word steal, this really is just, this is going to go above and beyond what was agreed upon and contractually obligated for us to pay into that.
Correct. And my understanding at that point was this money UPS was just going to keep. There's a lot that I've learned even since this started. So my understanding and my feeling on it was that they were just gonna steal this money from us.
So that's
as
employees.
employees.
That's another thing, right? Is the companies pulling out the health and welfare contributions.
Correct.
They're only contractually obligated to
pay $1.25.
The equivalent of $1.25 into the health and welfare. So they're going to get $35 to $55 extra per week per mileage driver. But
yeah, that's kind of where I was thinking of it when I was doing all of that. And like I said, this was January.
So UPS was going to take more and extra out of our paychecks, but only contributes the lesser correct amount.
Correct.
Or that was the theory.
That was kind of my thought on it. And in January of 24, after I kind of went through that, that is when Britt Miller took over as our feeder business agent. At that point, I had numerous calls with him. We were trying to resolve the sleeper 42-cent payroll dispute, and we had a lot of discussions over that. He was trying to look at what I believed, and what he stated was trying to look at the company's point of view and what is the company's arguments going to be, and have me argue our position and the union's position so that Britt could get a better understanding of what all was going on. And I felt he was acting in good faith at that point.
Right.
And then I came in March of 2024 at Northwest Panel. He settled this 42-cent grievance. He told me, hey, we got it settled. I don't remember if he actually sent me the settlement at that point, the agreement. I believe he did, but I'm not completely positive. But said, hey, great. The problem with it is on a grievance settlement, you have 10 days. The company has 10 days to pay out a settled grievance. This was March 22nd, and he gave the company until June 1st to actually make those payments that we'd been dealing with for 4.5 years at that point.
Right. And the logic was this is such a big undertaking, mathematical
Yeah.
undertaking,
Or 3.5
allowing
years, yeah.
the company to have some more time to actually do the calculations and just write us checks.
Yeah, to figure it out of what they owed. And the sleeper department throughout that time had grown from about 7 or 8 teams up to 55 teams, and was back down to, I think, 25 teams at that point.
Right.
So they've had a lot of drivers come in and out of that sleeper teams over the time.
Yeah, from 2020 to mid 21, I was a sleeper.
Yeah.
About 17 months.
Yep. And so we had, after that settlement, we had numerous, I had quite a number of phone calls with Britt and quite a few different text messages at times. One of the ones he's been pointing out to lately is in April of 24. I was on a phone call with Britt, and we were discussing the 42 cent, and I was upset that he decided to give them 2.5 months to actually make this payment.
Right.
I'm like, I have a spreadsheet right now that if we are to send a text message out to all the drivers, or send a message, force the company to send a message through their IVUS to every one of the drivers, every driver would get the message. 10 minutes of work by the driver, and the driver could have proof of exactly what the company owed him. I'm like, I could have that in a week and be done.
Right.
And at that point, he told me, yeah, we're still working. We're still trying to figure out this. They're still telling me that they are going to be implementing this new payroll method. At that point in time, this was March and April of 24, Spencer, Britt, and myself, and then a couple of people at the company, were the only ones aware of this new methodology. Nobody else was aware of it. Working behind the scenes, trying to say, hey, Britt, this isn't going to work. You have the proof. You have the spreadsheet showing this. He's like, yeah, I know. I've told the company. We've been fighting over this. I keep telling the company they cannot charge us anything above the $1.25 per hour that the guys are on the clock. Come to the beginning of May of 2024, and Britt tells me, hey, they're going to be doing this. They've pretty much told me we're done talking about it. This is the dates. We're just going to do it. When that began to implement, that's when, through discussions with Britt saying, hey, this is bull crap. And he's like, yeah, we're just going to have to fight them. We're just going to have to file grievances. Said, hey, do you want me to write another effects all or et al grievance? He never really answered that question. But said, yeah, we might have to get all the drivers to file individual grievances or penalty grievances for this theft, what I thought was theft of wages. And there were like I said, there were quite a number of not emails, but text messages and phone calls back and forth trying to argue all of this. And then there's quite a few of those emails that are kind of hard, or text messages that are kind of, you have to figure out as you're looking at them where the questions are about the 42 cent grievance settlement and where is the questions and answers about the new mileage method.
2.8 cents.
Yeah. Because I'm arguing with him constantly over both of these.
Right.
And June, July, I started getting very frustrated with him because June 1st, when that 42-cent payment was supposed to be made, it was never made by the company. It ended up the company partially made payments July 1st, backdating, sending us checks in June, post dating all the checks to July 1st.
To a very small handful.
Yeah, part of the drivers that were affected.
And backdating the checks.
Post dating the checks.
Post dating.
Not backdating, post dating. So we received them in June, the last week of June, but they weren't effective till July.
Wow.
Which begins the new quarter for the company. So there was a lot of back and forth at that point and arguing over, hey, they need to pay this correctly, and this new methodology, this is a joke. This is ridiculous. And he said, yes, we're fighting. We're just trying to argue over this. We're still trying to figure all of this out. The company can't seem to figure out that the difference is that for all health and welfare benefits, whether it's our active employee, everything else, the company's contributions stop at 2080, at 2080 hours for your health care, for your pension, for any other benefits the company pays. It stops at 2080 hours. The company's problem with our $1.25 is it's on all hours worked.
No cap.
There is no cap on that. And so there were a lot of arguments over that. And
just for clarity, the 2080 is 40 hours of work a week times 52 weeks.
Correct.
It's just full time.
Yep. Is for the full time. And so it was in August of 24, as I'm discussing this with another driver, that's when I finally actually discovered, with discussing with other guys, the JC3 24.2 language. I went, wait a minute. There's actually no option to even charge a mileage driver. The JC3 24.2 language specifically states that it's on all hourly compensable work. That's it. And when I questioned Britt about that, he's like, well, our interpretation is that the mileage is an hourly. There's an equation to get to the mileage rate that's an hourly equivalent. So the intention of that language was that the mileage was also included. And my argument was, no, if you wanted this, then you should have said, this is the hourly rate.
Right.
This is the mileage rate.
And potentially, and this was the issue that the arbitrator pointed out.
Correct.
In the early 2000s, that this could cause issues down the road. This
Correct.
Poorly written language.
Yes. And that's when I discovered that. I demanded from Britt, said, hey, we've always heard about this arbitration. I want this arbitration. I want to read this arbitration. Nothing in here is making sense of what's going on. And that's when he finally took a couple weeks, but I got a hold of the actual arbitration from 2002. And the company's argument was that if we pay overtime on the $1.25, then it will actually cause more payroll taxes. It will cause more taxes to the employee, because right now it's done as a wage deduction. So the employee will actually pay more taxes. And that is where the arbitrator agreed with the company and said, yeah, you don't owe overtime on it. And it's been a kind of trying to figure out what exactly the arbitrator, I still didn't fully at that point understand everything that the arbitrator, why the ruling was the way it was. And that's when I started kind of questioning Britt more and more on this, going, this just doesn't make sense. And that the the JC 324-2 language. I cannot remember the exact date now. But in those arguments with Britt, at one point, I had recalled that a few years earlier during one of our general membership meetings, so every year in our at UPS, we get additional funding to our health and welfare benefits. That health and welfare covers our active employee health care, our pension payments. It covers a secondary pension, the Pacific Coast Benefits Trust. Mm-hmm. It covers our attorney, the benefits we get for attorneys, legal services. And I remembered in this general membership meeting, as they were telling us, could have been in a feeder craft meeting, but they had said, hey, for UPS, this $1 per hour, that additional health and welfare money, that we only need 25 cents of it to cover active employee health care. So we're going to put, of that $1, they break it out, 25 cents is going to go to active employee health care, 10 cents is going to go to retirees health care, and 65 cents is going to go to pension enhancement. So, okay, great. Like I said, that health and welfare money is all capped at 2080 hours per year. Said, oh, great. And as I'm arguing with Britt in the fall of 24, I remembered that previous meeting and said, hey, we added 10 cents to this retirees program. How much does UPS pay into this? I can't find any paperwork over this. And in those discussions, that's when he revealed to me that the company, we pay $1.25 per hour, but the company also pays $1.76 per hour into our retirement health care. The company's $1.76 portion is capped at 2080 hours per year. And in those text exchanges, that's when I was questioning Britt about it. And that's when I don't know whether he accidentally said it or what, but he told me very specifically that the company is paying $3.01 per hour, our $1.25 and our $1.76 on all hours worked. Like, wait a minute. The company's $1.76 is supposed to be capped at 2080. Our $1.25 is on all hours worked. You're telling me they're paying $3.01 on all hours worked? That tells me the company is seriously overpaying their portion, because most UPSers work a hell of a lot more than 2080 hours per year.
8 hours a day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's when he, in one of the text exchanges, said, hey, we try to keep this quiet. We have a good thing going. You're going to work with us on this, right? Or to that, you'll see the text. And that did not sit right with me at all. Like, if we are over collecting money from UPS, this just doesn't seem right. And at that point is when I began digging even deeper into this, looking into the finances of it, looking into all of it.
Now, when you're doing this, are they cooperating fully? Oh, sure. Here you go, James. Let me answer all your questions. Now, can I just be helpful? Let's figure this out together.
Oh no, that is when I started asking the questions, I started requesting records from uh, Southwest Service, or I requested them from Britt, and he directed it to Southwest Service, who is the administrator of our plans. I didn't like some of the information I got back, and part of it, I then started asking Spencer, saying, "Hey, I want these additional records." Well, to me, the biggest thing I wanted was to know, is UPS paying $3.01 on all hours worked, or are they paying the $1.76 up to 2080 hours and the $1.25 on all hours worked? That's probably my best guesstimate. Is it's about a $1.5 million difference a year. And I wanted to know, are we taking money from UPS we're not entitled to? And so I started.
This is a good thing, right? This benefits us. Just taking extra money from the company. Nothing bad could ever happen to this. This is good for all the members. Let's overfund it.
Yeah, let's overfund the program. Let's just get money we're not entitled to.
Ill-gotten gains.
Yeah.
This is a good thing, James.
Of course it is.
Stealing money you're not entitled to.
Yeah, UPS is such a big company. Who cares what they pay into it? We work hard. We deserve that.
Right.
So I sent emails to Spencer at that point asking for these financial documents. He denies all of them. You're not entitled to them. There's secret
privilege.
There's privileged information. There's private health information regarding this stuff you're requesting. And he asked me, "Hey, why is it that you even want these documents?" And at that point, I told him directly, "Spence, I think we are taking money from UPS we're not entitled to. I don't agree with that. I'm trying to discover, are we actually taking extra money or are we not?" "Oh, we'd never do that. Everything's goes through the auditors. This is all fully accounted for. We get full records of this. We know where everything is at."
And you just took his word for it in case closed and moved on with your life.
No. I think they wish I had done that.
Sure.
At that point,
I think they wish we had done that with lots of different topics. Just sit down, shut up, let us run the union. Stop asking questions.
Well, I think
don't worry about the audit. Don't worry about the IDO.
Well, I think that's what they're used to members doing, is just taking their word for everything.
Don't amend your bylaws. Don't read your bylaws.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And at that point is when I started.
We want your dues, not your opinions.
Yeah. And at that point is when I started looking into publicly available government records of the retirement trust, and started to look into the annual financial disclosures of it. But through ProPublica, a public website, you're able to find out their I think it's 1099, whatever their public tax filings are. And it will tell you a lot of information. And that's when I was able to discover that this retirement trust was only earning now I forgot the numbers offhand. It's been a few months since I've gone through that. But the investments, it was earning like 2% on its investments per year. And going, well, that's way low. Why are we so low? and started digging into it more and more and looking into these and going, yeah, this investment suck. The 1 year, fiscal year 2023, we actually lost 0.8% in investments that year, when the S&P 500 for that same fiscal year period actually went up 22%. We lost money that year in investments. And so that's when I started requesting more records and attempting to dig into this. And still not being, they're like, oh, well, you need to talk to our lawyer. You need to talk to the trust's lawyer, and what documents can you have? What can't you have? And, oh, go look at public websites. That's where you need to go. You need to go find the public websites and find this. In September of 24, I think this is important. In September of 24, Britt took the affects all grievance.
Right. I was going to ask you that. So a bunch of drivers did eventually file grievances.
We filed them immediately when this began in May of 2024. We filed it immediately.
Back pay with penalties.
Correct. In September of 24, Britt took this affects all grievance to Northwest Panel.
So he gathered all your guys' grievances and formed one et al.
Yes.
With his own verbiage.
Yes.
And he can do that as president.
Yes. Right? I had written an affects all and filed it. I thought that's what he had used from the discussions, but come to find out later, that was not the affects all that was used and written and submitted to the company.
So what did he write and what did he submit on everyone's behalf?
It was just, hey, we need to figure this out. There was no request for back pay. There was no request for penalty. This is what he argued at the September Northwest Panel. It was determined by the Northwest Panel that, hey, this is not a payroll dispute. This is a trust issue, and you and the trust and the company need to figure this out, not us. And so that was September of 24. In October of 24, at our feeder craft meeting, Britt informed everybody, hey, this was referred back to us. We are sending this. We are, as a board of the retiree trust, we're going to request an audit of everybody's exact time cards. And so we can figure out what is being paid to the trust, what is being done.
In September of 24.
October of 24.
24.
Yes. At that, I asked time frame, what kind of time frame is this going to take? They said, hey, it's going to take until our October meeting of the trust. And then it's going to take, we've already discussed with other people, but then we've got to get the official on record request. Then it's going to take a few weeks. We've already kind of discussed with Miller Kaplan, our auditing firm. It's going to take them a few weeks before they can actually get around to begin the audit.
I imagine an audit of this magnitude would take some time.
Yeah.
Right.
And then Miller Kaplan, what Spencer told us in that meeting was Miller Kaplan had said, yeah, it'll take about 5 or 6 weeks to do that audit. I followed up at that point and said, okay, that puts us right, a couple weeks before you can actually authorize it, a couple weeks till Miller Kaplan can start, 5 or 6 weeks to perform the audit. Hey, this is being performed right in the middle of UPS peak, right in December. Busiest time of year for UPS. Is that peak time going to delay the audit? And Spencer said, no, it's not going to affect the audit firm. The payroll is actually easier that time of year because the payroll specialists aren't doing other jobs and everything else. They'll have time to actually work on getting Miller Kaplan the information they need. Okay, great. Come January of 24 or 25, they're still working on the audit. At that point, I had not had anything to deal with Dale Varney at that point. I had some misgivings about Dale. Never really talked to him.
Yeah, I think a lot
didn't
of us,
like a lot of the way he had come into
yeah,
the company, or came in when he came down from Utah.
sure.
And at that point, he came back, rejoined the union at that point after serving a suspension and some other issues.
Right.
His main point was, this has started in May of 24. We're now January of 25. We're losing all this money every single week and nothing seems to be happening.
Why wasn't there, and if there was, tell me, shouldn't the first step be like, yeah, we've got a problem, we're working on it, we grievances, audits, lawyers, company, panels. Why wasn't there at any point, this needs to stop, let's go back to the old way? And we're trying to figure out a problem as it gets worse and worse and worse. We're trying to catch a snowball as it's rolling downhill.
Correct.
At what point, why or was there not, let's stop this company, let's just stop this is not working, let's go back to the old method that we relied on before, figure it out, just stop the overcharge?
Yeah, and that was something I had brought up with Britt, and his reply was, the company refuses. They will not be going back to the old method. We can create a new one, we can figure this out, but they will not, under any circumstance, go back to the old method. My affects all grievance that I had written stated that, go back to the old method until we can figure out something that actually works. His response was, the company will not go back to that. Then it came, like I said, in January, we had other meetings. Oh no, this is still ongoing. We're still waiting on the audit. And at that point, I'm like, yeah, there's nothing we can do until this audit comes back. Once the audit comes back, we can push and fix this.
Right.
And it was, the audit was I think it was in January, in the feeder craft meeting. They're like, nope, the audit, what they got, or it might have been February. They're like, nope, the audit information that they provided was wrong. So we've got to order a second audit. The first audit was wrong. We got the wrong information. It doesn't work. At that point, that's when we started demanding, hey, we need to have a sit down over this with multiple guys. That occurred March 31st of 25. There was 7 or 8 drivers, and Britt Spence and Carlos Vasquez. We all sat down at the union hall and asked questions. I think it lasted almost 2 hours, going, hey, why can we not get this resolved? What does the company want? Why can't this be handled? Why can't this get taken care of? And everything kept getting blamed to the audit. Well, at the audit, they had proven, they had direct evidence from the auditing firm in that March 31st meeting that Carlos Vasquez was one of the employees that they were using to check his time card versus what he paid into the trust. He had paid $90 something that whatever week it was that they examined, he had paid $95, I believe it was, into the trust. Well, if you're on a 60-hour work week, The maximum you could pay into the trust is $75.
Right.
Carlos, we don't know what week it was they evaluated, because during that time frame at the beginning of the year, Carlos was working on political items with the Utah House in session. So he was taking time off. Did he work a full week that week? We weren't given any of those answers. Part of that, during that meeting, I asked specifically, hey, for our health and welfare money, on our active employee health care, there is a provision in the language of our active employee health care that it is to be equally funded throughout the year. So everything is based on health and welfare funding. It is all based on 2080 hours per year.
Mm-hmm.
There's a provision in our active employee health care that 2080 is to be split equally throughout the year. So you take 2080, you divide that by 12, you get 177 hours. There's a secondary provision in our UPS contract that if we even punch in 1 day per month, UPS owes that entire 177 hours immediately
for that
employee. Said, okay, so we have that method. On our pension, they pay, UPS pays from minute 1 on January 1st until we hit 2080 hours. They pay our pension every month until they hit the 2080. Most guys hit that June, July, August, depending upon what type of position you're doing with the company.
Right.
Some of the combos, they're usually November by the time they're hitting that 2080.
Right.
But some of the high feeder guys are hitting that by July.
Like a Dove Creek or a Mesquite, where even if you have a great day, you're still 12 and a half hours.
Yep, every single day.
Nothing goes wrong.
Yeah. So
one traffic jam and you're out of hours.
Yeah. So I asked, okay, so we have that provision in there at this March meeting. I said, then we have the Pacific Coast pension. They have a provision in there that they are also equally funded throughout the year, but they start from the minute you punch in. So the first day of every month until you hit 177 hours. Then they stop making that payment. So there's all these different methods of how our health and welfare money is paid. I asked Spencer directly, I said, okay, how is our $1.76 portion that UPS pays out of their retirement and out of our health and welfare funding? Do they pay it equally every month? Do they pay it to 2080 and stop? Are they paying it on all hours worked? Well, they're supposed to pay it to 2080. Okay, Spence, that's not the question I asked. How are they paying it? What are they paying? I accused you back in October of taking money. Now we're in March. How is this being paid? Well, they're supposed to stop at 2080 hours, but I think that they pay it equally every month. Okay, well, shouldn't you, as the trustee of this plan, know how the company is paying their $1.76? Are they overpaying?
Right.
What should we know? So we got through that meeting arguing back and forth for 2 hours. Nothing really was accomplished. It was still, hey, we've got to wait for this audit to complete. We're 6 months into the audit, 5 months into an audit. Okay, this is seeming to be real weird. About a week later, as I was kind of thinking through things, I sent Spencer an email saying, hey, or actually back up a step. In that meeting, I said, hey, everything in health and welfare is based on hours worked. Mileage, we don't work hourly. I know that there is a formula somewhere to convert mileage to an hourly equivalent so that UPS can make their contribution based on that 2080 hours. He's like, oh yeah, there's a formula. It's in this. I'll get that to you. Said, okay. Said, and then I'm like, okay. And I asked the question, I said, my issue in this March meeting, I asked the question directly, said, hey, on our pension, we have this formula, it's in writing. Where is it in writing anywhere that allows us to convert mileage to an hourly equivalent to be able to pay this $1.25 portion per hour? Well, because it's a health benefit, we have the legal authority to convert mileage to an hourly equivalent to be able to pay that. Okay, that sounds a little funny, but okay. Just kind of, it didn't sit right with me, but not something I questioned at that point.
Right.
About a week or two later, I'm sitting there as I'm driving, and it was just really bugging me. And so I sent an email to Spence asking him for that, the pension. I want the actual contribution rates. How does the conversion work for our pension? And what legal authority were you telling me? Is this some type of case law? Is there a provision in the law that allows you to do this? What is your legal basis for converting mileage to hourly equivalent for us to pay our $1.25? Because it's not in our contract. Well, he provided me the pension information and said, we'll just have to, anything going forward has to go through our lawyer.
Interesting.
Okay.
This is
in April of 25.
This is becoming a repetitive theme on this podcast is, hey, I've got some questions. This thing's come up. I've got some questions I want to inquire. And you're stonewalled, you're gaslit. Eventually, maybe you can pray out the information. They're try to confuse you or give you just enough information to shut you up for a little bit.
Yeah. Well, and it was interesting because that was an email exchange between me and Spence. And the next day, all of a sudden in that email exchange, now Britt Miller is in it, and he sends me an email, here's the legal basis, and sends me this MOU.
memorandum of understanding.
Yes. That was allegedly signed back March 22nd of 2024.
And you received this in May?
In April of
April.
2025,
25.
13 months later. Nobody knew anything about this MOU. Nobody had been informed of it. This MOU was that the old methodology sucked, just kind of paraphrasing. Essentially, the old methodology sucked. We are going to a new national methodology.
Yeah, we agreed
to charge
we
this.
agreed to adopt the national methodology.
Yeah.
But we don't
necessarily explain what the methodology
and nor
is.
have we gotten any explanation of what the national methodology is, right?
Correct. This is the first time 13 months later
Again,
anybody's ever heard of anything.
You have to grab and dig and pry information out. And then a driver like yourself is a heretic and a provocateur and a disruptor.
Yes.
For simply asking questions, trying to dig into just figuring something out.
Well, and I was floored when I saw this. Called a couple drivers, just livid. And started looking back through my text messages and realized back in August, I had asked Britt about is there anywhere other than JC3 24.2 that says anything about this? And he said, no, that's it. Shouldn't that MOU have been divulged?
Well, everything should be divulged.
If you sign an MOU, that every member should know.
Right.
That should be public common knowledge.
Yeah. If I'm over at your house and you've got a $20 bill missing from your countertop when I was there, and on my way out the door, hey John, did you happen to take those $20 bills? No, check my pockets.
Yeah.
Here's my wallet. No, I'm sorry. You want me to help you look for it?
Yeah, exactly. Not 13 months of arguing over this.
Yeah.
And then I'm going, okay,
talk to my lawyer, James. You want that $20? Talk to my lawyer.
What is your legal basis for even allowing this to occur? Oh, here's an MOU that's granting us legal authority.
Right.
And when we question the MOU, his explanation is it's not a change of wages. It's just a clarification of existing languages. Because if you're going to change pay and change drivers' wages, that's sub-bargaining.
Right.
He can't sub-bargain. So this is just according to him, a clarification of existing languages.
That changed our pay.
Yes, that changed our pay. That ended up us losing between $35 and $55 a week. But when I examined the JC3 24.2 language and went, oh, wait, they have no authorization to even charge a mileage driver this. So you take that out, it's actually closer to $80 to about $115 a week that they're not even allowed to charge a driver according to our contract. So those numbers start getting real big, real fast.
Yeah. So to date, roughly, what is your estimate on, let's just go with the 2.8 cents overcharge? Because up until that point, we were kind of things. Yeah. And I mean, the more you look, the more layers you peel back, the worse it gets. But
yeah, if
this new calculation,
so if
the $35 to $55 per week per driver for 16 months now.
Yeah, you're looking at probably at this point, if we had exclusively been on the old method that wasn't contractual, but was actually a fair equal. I do agree that the old method was a correct method. Whether it was contractual or not, that's big arguments. But at this point, if you go back to the old method, drivers have now overpaid the trust in excess of $400,000 has been taken from members' pockets.
from about 100 drivers?
There is a minimum of 110 drivers. And this isn't just Salt Lake. This is all Utah. So Beaver,
Okay.
St. George, any driver
Right.
within our local that is under mileage.
Right.
So there, last I counted, there was 110 mileage runs. But then you got to figure there's extra work all the time, extra runs.
110 mileage runs at Lake.
Every day.
Out of the Lake facility? Or
No, that includes Beaver and St.
Okay.
George that also have mileage runs. So if you look at it, the best guesstimate is somewhere around $400,000 has been taken out of members' pockets. If you go by what our actual contract states, you're somewhere around $750,000, $800,000 has been taken from members since May 26th of 2024. Well, and to me, as I start looking back at everything and I start having to, throughout this investigation and working with other guys and learning ERISA laws, the employer retirement investment savings account laws, learning all of this, it starts to make sense of the little tidbits that we gained from the text messages over the last year and a half of, and it makes more sense of why the company is paying $301 an hour on all hours worked. And I believe when Britt told me that, he was telling the truth. I don't think, I think he was just directly, I don't think he was trying to misinform or trying to, I think he let it slip on accident, told me that. It's just the way that, and then, like I said, learning having to go back and find the arbitration settlement.
Yeah, so you were
everything that we've been digging
into
it. Yes.
You're deep, James. You're
digging
deep
into all the financials, digging into starting to look at the financials of our active healthcare trust and realizing that a lot of things we've been told over the years is not true. And
wouldn't it be easier just to drive a truck and not worry about any of this?
That's my intention. And I feel bad the last few months I've kind of had to put a hiatus to it as some things have happened with my house. I've ended up moving to Florida.
You're kind of setting up for retirement, right?
Yes, I retire in 3 years.
Hell yeah.
So my wife, after our daughter graduated, our kids are all back east. And so my wife, Labor Day weekend, we moved my wife to Florida. So I'm now in a little basement apartment here in Utah, and my home is now in Florida.
Right on. But why? So, one of the questions could be, why is this so important to you? If we're stealing money from UPS, just let the union steal it. Let them do their jobs. Just drive your truck. Stop asking questions. It would be a whole lot easier. Why is it just your core beliefs of what is right? Why spend so much time on this?
To me, it does come back to core beliefs. To me, it started as, the company's stealing 42 cents from us.
On a very specific set of
very specific set. It's $2 a week. Who cares?
Yeah. Well, I don't my care
paycheck
for it.
is based on
it, but can we get it fixed? Maybe.
Yeah. Can we get this fixed? And as that has ballooned over the years, and as I've trying to discover, okay, some of this just doesn't sit right. And like I said, when Britt told me that the company's paying $301 an hour on all hours worked, that sat horribly with me. Because to me, what happens if UPS ever does discover that? Do they come back on all of a sudden this money that is set aside in a retirement trust to pay my health care? In 3 years, I'm out of here. if they discover it and all of a sudden, oh, I was planning on having health care for the whole time I'm in retirement until I turn 65 and get on Medicaid or Medicare, whatever it is. If all of a sudden that health care is now gone because UPS came back and said, hey, wait a minute, we've been paying millions of dollars over every year for 20 years, for 10 years, whatever it's been. That sat wrong with me. This account needs to be fully above board. Anything that's going into it above and beyond, it's not reliable funding.
Right.
And if we can't rely on that funding, what are we making basis? What are we guessing when we're trying to adjust? Just like Spencer said in that March meeting, we asked, hey, this retirement money we're supposed to get, I wasn't positive if it was 650,000 or 750,000 as the lifetime cap.
Yeah, I've heard 600, but it's in that neighborhood.
Yeah, I've heard many different stories. He told us directly, oh, we're raising that now to $1 million. Okay, great. That's freaking awesome. We still have never seen any paperwork. We've still never seen, is it 600? Is it 650? Is it 750? Is it $1 million? We have no idea. And looking at the funding, when I started looking at that going, oh, wait a minute, this is just, if UPS is overpaying, this isn't right. Let's look at the financials of it. And then start looking at the financials and going, wait a minute, we're losing money in a year where the S&P is going up over 20%. I think the best year we earned maybe 2.5%. Okay, well, why is this investment so horrible? So I do open records requests. Nope, you can't have these records. You can't have this. You can't look into this closely. Okay, well, we switched from, on our active healthcare in 2015, from Group Benefits Administrators as our healthcare provider to SSA, and all the problems we've had with that, and then getting Cigna. And I've asked questions all the time from our local and from Britt, who sits on the board. As a union, the biggest thing is cheap labor is never good.
Yeah.
Good labor is never cheap. Well, we have an amazing healthcare policy, but the administration of it by Cigna, by SSA, is freaking horrible. Guys are fighting them constantly. Why are we if we've got this amazing healthcare plan, best plan out there, why do we have the shittiest provider? Why aren't we going with Blue Cross, with Aetna, with any number of other companies? And so it's just, I've been trying to dig into this and figure this all out as a truck driver. And I don't know ERISA laws. I've had to learn ERISA. I didn't know ERISA even existed.
Yeah.
I've had to learn all these different bylaws. And we essentially hire our executive board to learn this, to know it. There's all these trainings that they go to when they start, provided by the IBT, to learn all these different laws and the public disclosures and the financials. And there's a lot for any executive board.
Sure.
More than any regular member has the time or desire to know. I want to come in, do my job, take care of my family, go enjoy my family time.
Right.
And
on our last recording, and these will probably come out in different orders where we release them, but the last recording, we talked about that. It was the slate, the four e-board members, and the sacrifice we're making. I really would rather just go to work and earn a fair day's wage for a fair day's pay.
Yeah.
But sometimes you have to step up and make the sacrifices to do what you feel needs to be done if you believe in it strongly enough.
Yes.
And I think more and more of us are getting to that point. But yeah. We had a similar conversation on that podcast too.
Well, in this healthcare, it's learning the differences between healthcare, going to your doctor, and health insurance. Most people don't seem to, it's all one to people.
Mm-hmm.
No, it's two different things. It's how is the doctors being paid? Where is the funding source to take care of the trusts? These trusts are, our active employee healthcare trust, I believe, has over $60 million in the bank. Our retirement healthcare trust, the last year I can gain records for, has $82 million in the investments.
Mm-hmm.
Brits told us it's $101 million. But I can't know that, although the fiscal year goes May 1st to the end of April of every year. He can see that it has $101 million. I won't be able to verify those records until probably the end of March, 1st of April of next year before they become public.
Right.
So to me, this healthcare topic, if there's so many different things that the current board members are hiding and willing to allow this money to be taken from the members, and all of last year blaming it's all on the company, it's all their fault, it's all theirs, until we force from hey, what gives you the legal authority to even do this crap? 14 months later, oh, here's this MOU that I've been hiding, I've lied about, that's an integrity issue of our e-board. They're representing me.
Mm-hmm. And our money.
They're taking care of my money.
Right.
And if they're lying to me about such a critical issue, what else are they lying? What else are they hiding?
Right.
What else is all going on? And yeah.
I don't see what the issue would be if you thought that here's some basic numbers, here's where our plan's at. We're just talking transparency here.
Yeah.
Here's where our plan's at. Here's our projected. Here's where we would like to be. Here's our investments. Here's what happened. That was a bad decision.
Yeah. Here's our investment strategy.
The investment strategy, whatever.
Are we in charge of the investments? Is SSA in charge of
we think here's what the company wants to do. They want to go to this national deduction. Here's you want proof? Here's they do it in North Dakota and Texas and Georgia. So we want to follow this plan. It will take.
We still don't know what states this occurs in.
You're right. If it was correct.
Yeah.
If everything is transparent and out in the open, you say, James McDonald and all UPS feeder drivers, here's what we want to go to. It's come to our attention. It will be overcharging you, but here's why we think that could be a good thing.
Yeah.
Here's our projections. Here's the numbers. Do you guys agree to this? What do you think we should do?
Well,
this is my fundamental problem, is the lack of transparency, constantly transparency.
And you know what? If I was going to get more out of paying an extra $300 a month,
right?
Okay, then there's something that I'm paying for.
It's good for everybody. We'll just take it out of this small group of guys that make too much money.
Yeah, these small group of guys can pay this extra $400,000 or $500,000.
Good for everybody.
Yeah, exactly.
We'll just do it in secret.
Yeah,
and lie about it.
And so right now we're at the point. They're still. Oh, we've got this audit. We are now 11 months into the initial audit request. 12 months, 11 or 12 months at this point.
So we're at least 11 months into a 8 to 10 week audit?
Correct. And it's still, like I said, 6 months ago in March, they had absolute proof that Carlos Vasquez, our vice president, was overpaying into this trust.
Well, you had already provided proof. It was
that
going,
it would
that,
going
that,
to
that it was going to overcharge us.
Yes.
Before the fact.
And they had absolute proof in March that it was of 25.
Okay.
And we're in September of 25. This audit still is not complete. They're still continuing to hide behind, well, we need the audit. And Britt, a few months ago, we're still waiting on the audit. But the company has now proposed this other new method that might work. And my position is, at this point, the only method to go to is go to the contract, period. Go to exactly what the contract states. There's no other option besides following what we agreed to as members. Everybody agreed, follow the contract.
Right. And if a simple MOU gives you full legal authority, can we not come to the members and sign a new MOU?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So that's right now we're still at a stalemate with them over this. And the hardest part I have is this hidden MOU. We may just be screwed as members.
Mm-hmm.
There may not be anything. And Britt keeps saying, well, the trust is going to fix it. The trust is going to take care of this.
Well, that's a whole mess because the trust can't give the members the money back directly.
Correct.
Because that goes against some sort of racketeering and
yep,
mob type
different ERISA laws. Yeah.
ERA laws.
Yes.
I imagine the company doesn't want $400,000 back in their payroll system for them to pay how to figure out how to get it back to us.
Correct. Especially when Britt allegedly signed off and said, oh yeah, go ahead and do this. Why would the company want the money back? Oh, why are we having to now deal with this when you said go ahead and do it?
They don't even want to pay their payroll to do a manual calculation. Now we're going to give them $500,000 back and say, sort it out.
Figure it out. Yeah.
What a mess.
So this whole thing is just, it is. The deeper we get into it, the more we keep discovering. And how much are we going to discover?
Yeah.
How much are we going to discover with when we changed from GBA to SSA? What occurred there? The stories I've heard there don't add up with what the financials said, as I've now looked into the financials from 2015 and 2016. Yes, GBA, absolutely. We were losing money every year, but we were not in the dire financial straits that we were led to believe by the company or by Spencer. We needed to make a change, absolutely. Were we in the dire financial situation? If you look at the financials, we were losing money, yes, but we were not in the financial situation he led us all to believe.
Interesting. Is there anything else you want to add to this? Any last words? Any messages?
Just to say thank you to you and to all of those that are running on this new slate. I know none of you wanted to be in this position.
Yeah.
I understand fully, seeing what the digging I've done, the time commitments. It takes a lot to do this.
Yeah.
And like I said, all of us just wanted to come in, do our jobs. We pay our dues to let those that wanted to deal with it.
Right.
And unfortunately, that's not the position we're in anymore.
Right. Yeah.
And I just say thank you to you guys for stepping up to do this.
It's members like you and others that have, put in the hard work and the time also. I think we have some really fantastic union members inside and outside of UPS and ABF. And I think members are starting to feel more and more it's time to do something.
Correct.
I think they feel it's across all the barns. I don't know if you know this, but it's been the general consensus to all the smaller barns at ABF, the white paper contracts, T4s, Bimbo. They don't feel represented, and it's because UPS is getting all the representation.
Correct.
But recently, we've been telling them that ain't the case either.
Yeah.
So
They just think, that our current top 3 e-board members are all, and it's interesting that, they are UPS feeder drivers.
Mm-hmm.
But like I've seen from the new slate, 2 of them are feeder drivers because
3 now, because we've got our recording secretary as a part-timer from UPS.
Okay.
Very impressive person.
Yes. But getting other positions at UPS, not just feeder, and getting other barns involved.
BJ from ABF.
Yes. And I've seen you guys personally reaching out to all the other barns saying, hey, let's talk. What is your concerns? And UPS is kind of the big monster in our local, and UPS is a giant pain in the ass.
Right.
They do everything possible to violate the contracts every minute they can.
Yeah.
And it does take a lot of work. But UPS isn't the only company.
For sure.
And there's a lot of these other barns that they need help also.
Yeah. I think we could take a page out of ABF's shop stewards, because they have a very, very tight, they're very united over there. They're a lot smaller.
Yeah.
So, but I think that's what we're trying to build. And just like you said, and thank you for saying that. And again, I'll repeat this again, because I think it's worth saying. Not only do we have campaign commitments, and I won't read them now like I did on the last episode, but representation for every member in every barn, good communication, contract enforcement, community involvement. Right now, it's just small, but what our slate is doing with this movement and this momentum that we have is already what we're committing to do, and we're already doing it. It's just not that big yet.
Correct.
We've got this small little nucleus. We're communicating with people. We're cross barns. We just need more.
It takes a lot of work.
Yeah, it is a lot of work, a lot of sacrifice. But I've been I just want to go to work and punch out and go home driver. For far too long, and it's got to the point for me to when I was asked, I said, I guess I have to.
Yeah, and I know that sentiment very well.
Yeah, you've been involved in this deep.
And like I said, as we dig and you find and you're like, holy crap. I never wanted to join a union. I fought against joining a union, and luckily had an amazing shop steward back when I was in package car that came and hit me over the head and said, hey, you're an idiot. And
hit you with the contract.
Hit me with a few things and wait a minute. Yeah, our union, we need a union. Okay. Yep. I need to join, and became a member, but it was just dues paying only.
Right.
Never really getting involved. And especially I understand with UPS as package car, as part-times, you've got 1,000 other things, and your days are not filled with anything else.
Right.
And I think that's some of the misconceptions, is that feeders just try to take over. Well, as feeders, we're sitting down, driving down the road,
talking on the phone.
We have a lot of time to sit and talk to other guys, and we have a lot of time to sit and think.
Yep.
And start looking at things and going, oh, is this right? Is this? So they tend to get a little more vocal, a little more loud.
Well, and maybe that comes with the years of experience in the company and moving up the ranks, generally speaking, typically.
Yeah.
And last time I heard, we're nearly 100% dues paying department.
Correct. I heard there was only one member in our department that does not.
So we're, the old grumpy union guys, I suppose.
Yeah.
with nothing but time on our hands to think and talk. So, all right, James.
All right. Well, hey, thank you, John, for having me and letting me get a chance to hopefully explain this a little bit. I'd love the time to talk to anybody about this. And if they have questions, reach out to me. the last couple months, I kind of backed off as I was dealing with family and
Moving
moving
and
and getting everything with my family situated. But
Sure.
now we are settled in Florida and settled here in Midvale and ready to get back.
How long have you been
attacking
with
it.
the company?
I have been with the company since 2002.
I've been here longer than you.
Well,
2000.
Yeah. Well, and I also worked for the company part-time in 96 and 97,
Okay.
then left and then came back in 2002.
Yeah, I started so young. I've got to go past my 30 years
Yeah.
to hit my Pier 80. But anyway.
Yeah. By March of 2029, I'm out of here.
Right on, man. Well, thank you for coming down and explaining this. I hope this is the definitive MOU interview.
Yeah.
Because
Hopefully
I don't think there's
people
anybody else
understand.
that could break it down. So thank you, James.
Thank you.